Hey guys, welcome to the MMA Brothers podcast, the newest, baddest, and best podcast out there. And let's get it going. Welcome to back to the MMA Brothers, guys. We have a very special guest, and I'm very excited to have him on the podcast, Adam the Maverick Assenza. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you guys?
Very, very good. Thank you. Once again, my name is Daryl.
My name is Asher.
And we're going to be asking you a few questions today. We'll just like to start off by thanking you for joining us today. And I just had one question to start it off. How did you get into fighting? What gave you the passion to get into fighting?
Honestly, like I watched a lot of Pride in MMA when I was younger, with my uncles and stuff. And I was a high level gymnast growing up. I did it for like 13, 14 years, and then I quit. And I always got into trouble, always got into street fights, and I just felt like there was a void missing. From training all that time during the week to doing absolutely nothing. I felt like I needed to do something. So my buddy brought me to an MMA gym. I showed up on a sparring night, got beat up and everything, but I had a great time and I've been hooked ever since.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's great. Like you obviously found a way to channel the energy that you had. Like you said, like you got into street fights and stuff like that, and obviously MMA was calling your name. So we're both happy that you're able to find that in your career. So obviously we've watched your fights. We've done some research on you before we got the chance to talk to you. You're part of the BTC fight promotion. We're a Burlington podcast, and we're happy you obviously got the chance to talk to you. We've seen some of your fights. We know what your fighting style is like. You're a lightweight, and I'm sure you have some dreams to fight, in some bigger promotions in the future. So can you kind of just tell me about what your short-term and long-term goals are?
Yeah, short term is just, keep beating these guys up, and long term, or as soon as possible, hopefully fighting the UFC. That's obviously one of the main goals. That's it.
Yeah, and more along those lines, you just faced a former UFC fighter in Cody. Did you notice a huge discrepancy between that fight with Cody and other fights, or did you think that because you got the win, of course, you're on a two-fight winning streak, but did you find a huge discrepancy in the fighting styles of someone who's been in the UFC, or is it just part and parcel? Everyone's the same, and you know what I mean. You're just doing your thing.
I don't really try to focus on what my opponent does. I just try to focus on what I do best. And, there was nothing real different in the fight. Cody's a high-level grappler, super high-level wrestler. He's slick on the ground. In a couple positions, he was able to control me and stuff like that, and hats off to him. But I didn't find anything that out of sort or at a different level.
So my next question is kind of about like your support system. So everybody knows that the fight game's tough, right? Especially when you're in the come up, you need to have a good support system around you in terms of your coaches, your family, and obviously some people that can help you out with money and stuff like that if you do need it. So like, what's your support system like in order to ensure that you meet your long-term goals?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a good support system. I've got, phenomenal coaches, phenomenal training partners, definitely some amazing sponsors. I've been doing this for a while. So like, I've always been working my butt off in the gym and also, on business as well. So, I'm in the fitness industry. I've got a personal app, a fitness app. So I do a lot of work on there. And then obviously I'm at, the Performance Center, a Burlington training center. And, we train a lot of athletes and we do a lot of martial arts out in there. So, definitely have a good support system. But also, I support myself just by working my butt off and doing what I need to do.
Yeah, and I did a little bit of research in your Instagram bio. I saw the link to the app that you guys have in the store, and look, it seems very intuitive. Looks like you guys are personally coaching people, giving them unique dietary plans and everything. So that's like a very interesting app to me because for myself, I'm trying to get in better shape and learning stuff. So I just wanted to say hats off to you guys for a very great app, and it's looking very well.
Thank you, bro. We know we can help you out anytime, man. Like we specialize in essentially training athletes, and our other, I guess, bigger niche and market, and a lot of people that get drawn to us is like weight loss and just people that want to be in shape at home. So those are our two major focuses and our major avatars that we focus on. A lot of these like athletes and especially professional fighters, a lot of fighters come and train with us. They overdo it. They train way too hard. They burn themselves out. They get less gains because they're in the gym too much. So sometimes they just want somebody taking care of their strength conditioning who's kind of does it themselves and has been there and also obviously has knowledge, right? I'm a strength conditioning coach by trade, so that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, and how's training during Corona going for you? Because obviously there's restrictions with gyms and can it be open and all that jazz. It must be quite difficult for you guys. What have you been doing to keep active and fit during Corona?
Right. So it's starting to get better now. Now things are we're I guess, a bit on the other side of Corona where we're in the phase 2 or whatnot. So things are kind of starting to open up again. I've got my, social circle of 10 people that I've been training with this whole time for the most part. But in the very beginning, it was like basement workouts and runs. That's literally how I was staying in shape. It was just, jailhouse workouts and just running outside basically. And then, we kind of got to, start working on the bags, and then, partner stuff is starting to come back now. So we're definitely in a better position than where we were, but it's always tough to stay in shape when kind of you have stuff like Corona going on.
100%. So there are some fighters that have been in the UFC that are from Ontario. So we have like Randa Marcos, as Elias Theodoro. Like, do you like potentially reach out to some of these people that you know are kind of in your circle, at least proximity wise, and just kind of get, I guess, get tips on how they got there, or do you have another way in which you do that?
Yeah, well, like, the thing with Ontario is it's not like anywhere else, right? So there's not like a TriStar or like, an American top team where you have these big affiliates that have like all the top teams around. So everybody trains with everybody. So like Elias Theodoro, he's like one of my best friends. I talk to him all the time. So, it's kind of like it's small in Ontario. So anybody who's been in the UFC that's in Ontario, I probably train with them or some sort. I can't think of anybody that I don't train with that hasn't been in the UFC from Ontario. So it's kind of funny like that. But I mean, I feel like Canadians, it's a little bit harder for us to get in just because they haven't been coming to Canada as much lately since COVID and whatnot. But just recently, a couple of my training partners just got picked up like last week or the week before. So things are looking good. So we got to just keep just keep training and keep staying in shape and be ready for anything.
And you're a very exciting fighter. And the thing I love about your fighting style is for the average fan, they might not see it, but then when I was looking at your wins, you have I think 7 wins by TKO or KO. And for people watching, people that don't really understand grappling and clinch work and all that type of stuff, that's more so what they're looking for. I just wanted to tell you, it's very, very interesting watching you fight because you do have that knockout power. That's something in the lightweight division you don't see too much of because people are usually like hitting you with shots and it's more so the long game, maybe decision types of fights. But I just like to say that you're a very interesting fighter to watch, and anyone who's listening to check him out on YouTube. You know what I mean? You're very going to be interested in what you're going to
You
see.
won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. I pride myself on being an exciting fighter. Even when I was young and I was watching fights, I always liked action-packed fights. And for me, I'm always looking for the finish. I definitely want the win, but when I get in there, I'm just trying to finish my opponent. That's the number one thing on my list. So, it just the action comes out, and the fans enjoy it. I enjoy it, and
Yeah, for sure.
So my question is going to be about your fighting style. So like you talked about, you did some gymnastics in the past, and I've noticed from your fights you are very kick heavy. You can do some spinning kicks. You like the oblique kicks, the John Jones style kicks, and you're also good with your hands and your movement as well. So your plan obviously is to hopefully get into the UFC lightweight division, and that's obviously a Shark Tank. Do you think that like you're one of those people that needs to select your fighters that are going to be more stand-up friendly, or are you confident in your submission skills, your wrestling skills, and that you can take on all comers?
nowadays you have to be well rounded. You can't just be, a striker. And I was that for many, many years in the first half of my career, and now you have to be well rounded everywhere. So like I'm training with, the best wrestlers, the best submission guys. My wrestling and my submission game is very good. And I'll fight anybody. At the end of the day, it's just a matter of, if the fight is going to propel my career. So I want somebody who is just in the UFC or has been getting looks recently. Those are the guys that make the most sense for me to fight.
Yeah, and more so on that, like every fighter, seeing as you are a stand-up fighter, now that you've gotten well-rounded and you're into jiu-jitsu and wrestling, what's your favorite submission to catch guys in? Because everyone has their own unique submission. Tony Ferguson's got the Darce. You have some people that like the guillotine chokes, like Charles Oliveira. What would be Adam's go-to submission on the ground that you catch people in training?
I mean, I don't have a go-to submission because I don't know. Like, it's just not like I'm still, you know, I try to be a student, so I'm learning every single day. You know, so I guess if there was a submission that I caught a lot of people in, that is something that is a go-to, I guess, would be an arm bar from the back. I usually end up, you know, spinning on my head and kind of, you know, if they give their arm up and they're kind of defending the choke or thinking that I'm gonna rear naked choke them, I'll switch to the arm bar, and that seems to be a high percentage finish for me in the grappling room.
Good, good, good.
Nice. So I'm sure you probably have a hit list. I'm sure you follow UFC, and you have some ideas of some people who you'd like to face in the future. So before you make your debut, do you wanna maybe potentially do some call outs?
Man, the hit list is a whole next level thing, man. It's these days it's so hard to even get the fights that you want. You know what I mean? I just want to fight anybody who was just in the UFC, who's getting a lot of looks. You know, maybe it has their attention. Maybe they're looking to maybe select him next for give him a shot. I want to fight those guys. I don't really have a list of people because, you know, especially with COVID, the borders aren't even open. Nothing's really moving right now. So I just want to fight in general.
Yeah, and that's a very good mindset to have because usually you see a lot of guys talking trash to people on DMs and trying to get notoriety that way. And it's very refreshing as a fan to see that you're just willing to take on all comers. I don't care what you say to me online. I don't care anything about that. You're just more so looking for what's going to be best for me and my career in the future, and getting those big names off the hit list as you've been doing so far.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other questions?
Not really. I just kind of wanted to use this as an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better, obviously, and for our viewers that we do have. We're obviously wishing you the best, and we hope that you know make your dreams come true with getting to the UFC, and then I'm sure you obviously want to become a champion as well. We're going to be following your journey. We just followed you on Instagram, and I'm sure we're going to be engaging with you a lot going forward. And we really appreciate the time you've given us today.
Wicked, guys. Thanks for having me on. And I'm super pumped that you guys are from Burlington. We need more guys like you. You guys got to blow up, man. You guys got to keep doing what you're doing. So appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. And I appreciate the support.
Thank you so much, Adam. It was great having you on.